Hi everyone, welcome to day 11 of online learning. We're going over Unit 6, Lesson 2.3, but before we begin, you need to do your do now, and I'll read that to you. Tina has a problem. She wants to play one of her favorite games, but she lost the spinner. She remembered that one half of the spinner was red and 1/3 of the spinner was blue. Tina could not remember how large the remaining green section was. What should Tina's replacement spinner look like? What is the probability of landing on each of the colors on Tina's spinner? Red, blue, and green. Show all your math thinking. So do that now before we begin the lesson, and we'll be going over it tomorrow before tomorrow's lesson. At this point, you should have completed the lost spinner. We're going over our worksheet from yesterday, which is finding 1/4. So please get that out now so we can go over it. So this is the worksheet from yesterday, finding 1/4 starting from 1. And the number line shows two numbers, 0 and 1. And what the directions are is to find where is 1/4 on this number line. So I see my number lines 0 to 1 and 1/4. 1 is less than my whole, so I know it's going to be in between. And I could just break this up into 4 equal parts. So I'd put a line in the middle, then a line over here and here to make 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. So I know 0 is 0/4, and I know that this would be 1/4. So all it's asking is where's 1/4 on this number line, and I found it right here. 1 part of my whole divided into 4 equal parts. So today our big focus is on how to compare fractions using fraction bars and also figuring out equivalent fractions. So my question up here is, are 1/3 and 3/6 equivalent? And so we're going to be doing this one together, and then I'm going to have you do something by yourself. So together we're going to figure out, are 1/3 and 3/6 equivalent? And how I can figure this out is using a fraction bar. So I would make one fraction bar to show 1/3 and another fraction bar to show 3/6. And I need to make sure that they're the same size because I'm comparing the same amount of the whole. So for 1/3, I'm going to separate it into 3 equal parts by drawing 2 lines to show 3 equal parts, and then shading it in just 1 part. Then for 3/6, I can also break it up into 3 parts first, and then 3 times 2 is 6, and then I would break it up by putting 2, we're putting a line down the middle of each third to make 2 parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. And then I'm going to shade in 3 parts. So 1/6, now I have 2/6, and now I have 3/6. So here I have 3/6 shaded in, and here I have 1/3 shaded in. So what I'm going to do is just draw a line, that way I can easily see where 3/6 and 1/3 is shaded in. So what I can see here is that 3/6 is greater, 3/6 is greater than 1/3. So I can tell that 3/6 has more shaded in than 1/3, so they are not equivalent. So what I'd like you to do now by yourself is figure out, are 2/4 and 1/3 equivalent? So on any sheet of paper, using fraction bars, figure out whether 2/4 and 1/3 are equivalent. So pause me now and work on that by yourself. So at this point you should have done this by yourself, but now we're going to be going over it. So our 2/4 and 1/3 equivalent. So I need 2 fraction bars, just like I did before. So this one is going to be for 2/4, and this one is going to be for 1/3. So for 2/4, I'm going to break it up into 4 equal parts by drawing a line down the middle. 4 can be broken up into 2, and then 2 times 2 is equal to 4. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. And then for 1/3, I'm going to break it up into 3 equal parts. So here I'm going to break or shade in 2 parts for 2/4. And here I'm going to shade in 1 part for 1/3. So I'm going to draw a line to compare. And what I see here is that 2/4 is greater than 1/3. Or I see 1/3 is less than 2/4, because more is shaded in this fraction bar than this fraction bar, so they are not equivalent or equal. What we're doing now is we're figuring out which fraction is equivalent to 1/2. And we need to draw a fraction bar for every single one of these fractions. So I'm going to start with 4 fraction bars to show 1/2, 3/4, 1/3, and 3/6. This fraction bar will show 1/2. This one will show 3/4. This one will show 1/3. This one will show 3/6. So for 1/2, I'm just going to break it up into 2 parts and shade in 1. For 3/4, I'm going to break it up into 2 parts first, because 4 can be broken up into 2 parts, so 1 part down the middle, and then 2 times 2 equals 4, and then I'm going to shade in 1, 2, 3 parts to show 3/4. So 1/3, I will first break it into thirds. And shade in 1 part. And then 3/6, I can do the same thing where I break it up into thirds. And then I'm going to break it up into 2 parts in each third, because 3 times 2 is 6. And shade in 3 parts. So 1, 2, 3. So now what I'm going to do is just draw a line to show where 1/2 would be in all of the fraction bars. So I see that 3/4 is greater than 1/2. I see that 1/3 is less than 1/2. And then I see that 3/6 is equal to 1/2 because it has the same amount shaded in. This part has less and 3/4 has more shaded in. The 3/6 is equivalent because it has the same amount shaded in, or it's the same amount of my whole. What I'd like you to do by yourself now is figure out, is this statement true? Is 2/3 equivalent or equal to 3/6? So using fraction bars, just like we've been doing, I want you to figure out, is 2/3 equivalent to 3/6 using any scrap piece of paper? Figure that out now. You should have solved this by yourself and tried to figure out, is 2/3 equal to 3/6? So what I would do first is draw two fraction bars that are the same size. And figured 2/3 and 3/6. So 2/3 I would break into 3 parts and shade in 2. And then for 3/6, I can also break it into 3 parts. And then put 2 in each. Shade in 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. So I can figure this out by drawing a line to see if they are equal. So I would put a line right down here, and I would see that 2/3 has more of my whole, so 2/3 is greater than 3/6. Here I see it's less, so I know that they are not equal or equivalent. So I would write not true, because they don't fill up my same amount of my whole. So what you're going to do now for your have to is complete pages 373 and 374, and I'm going to show that right now. So I'll be reading the directions. Compare the fractions in each problem. Use brownies, number lines, fraction sets, or pattern blocks, or fraction bars like we just went over to show how you know. Record your solution by using less than, greater than, or equal to compare the fractions. So for number 1, it's Gina ate 5/8 of a brownie, Chris ate 5/6 of a brownie. Who ate more, or did they eat the same amount? Show how you know. So use 2 fraction bars to show 5/8 of a brownie, and another fraction bar to show 5/6 of a brownie. Who ate more, or did they eat the same amount? Show the fraction bars, and that's showing how you know, and also label who ate more. I understand that some of you are using Kami, and that's fine as long as you're comfortable and you think that you're getting the answers and you're showing your work just like you would do on a scrap piece of paper. Or you can do this on a piece of paper and print this out by using the work packet, or you can just number very clearly 1 through 7 and show your work that way, and by submitting a picture. As long as you are showing your work for numbers 1 through 7, I don't really care where or how you do your work. So what I would like you to do to make sure you're paying attention at the end of this video to show me that you watched all the way through, please comment what color hat my dog is wearing now under this assignment tab.